Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ask Amy. Our guest today is Leash Yu, and you may recognize him because he's sort of our insurance expert, with the managing director of Higginbotham Insurance. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, and the reason we're having you again is because people keep emailing and asking, like, what is going on with insurance? Like, why is my insurance going up? Insurance companies dropping people. From your seat, what are you seeing as you try to help your customers find policies?
Yeah, so the last time we discussed this situation, it was the industry was in turmoil, right? And then we've seen 30% increases really since 2022, 2023, and again now in 2024. And so we're hoping that 2025 was going to settle down. We don't know how much it will settle down, but things are kind of the same. We're still in turmoil. It's harder to get homeowners insurance. Auto insurance rates are higher. Everything is higher, so everybody's still suffering through this, and we're just trying to figure out how to get through and afford our insurance these days.
I mean, at some point, you have to know there are some families that just can't afford to pay these policies if they're offered policies.
Yeah, and it's a crazy, crazy time because we get calls every day by the lenders, people buying houses. Hey, the homeowner's insurance needs to be this amount, otherwise they won't qualify for loans. And so if that happened in 2021, and in 2022, the client gets a 30% increase. 2023, another 30% increase. In 2024, another 30% increase. People aren't able to afford their loans, you know, and it's getting very, very difficult. So the question is, how do we combat it?
Yeah.
You know, and there's certain ways, and it's kind of similar. We're telling people to self-insure more, increase their deductibles, but make sure they have a decent policy. So if something does happen, at least they do have coverage. Their out-of-pocket is just a little higher.
Right, and so we did ask some viewers, what do you want to know? We took questions that they sent us to give to you, and we are going to get to those, just some things that you're asking us. But when we say self-insure, just kind of explain to people, I mean, what that means.
Yeah, so self-insure means a lot of things, but it basically means you're going to pay more out of pocket to basically fix any problems that happen to your house or your vehicles in that sense. And so the easiest way to self-insure is to increase deductibles. And so on homeowners insurance, your lenders typically allow you to go up to 5% of the insured value of your home. Yeah, so if you have a $100,000 house that you're insuring, 5% of that is $5,000, and so you could save a lot of money going from a 1% or a $1,000 deductible versus a $5,000 deductible. So you have to do the numbers. But if you could save thousands of dollars a year increasing your deductible to 5%, you just have to have 5% of the value of your home set aside in case something disastrous does happen. In some sort of emergency fund. Yes, in an emergency fund. Yeah, I mean, this is, very, very good information as people sort of navigate. I even had somebody call me and say, have you ever heard of your mortgage company putting forced place insurance on you? I mean, I was shopping around for a new provider, and then I'm told that, oh, they put this on my mortgage, on my escrow. Yeah, forced place insurance is a tool that the lenders use to secure their collateral. And in this market, there are homes that are uninsurable. There are people that are uninsurable. When they can't find insurance, the banks they need a way to secure their collateral, so they go out to the markets and say, hey, we've got this collateral, can you place insurance? We're going to force place it on them because they can't afford or they can't get insurance anywhere else. And so the banks have their collateral secured. It doesn't protect me and you, though, because if our contents are in the house and it burns down, there's no coverage for the contents or anything else besides their collateral. It's just protecting the actual owner of your home while you're making payments. That is correct. And so let's talk to people about why. So 30% increase in 22 and 23 and 24. People, like to think of insurance companies as like these greedy companies that, oh, look, you're making money hand over fist. Yeah. I mean, why do they keep increasing rates? So it has everything to do about the profitability of the insurance carrier. So the insurance carriers for years just have not made any money. And the bigger the disasters are, the less money they make. And so you and I may not have filed a personal claim, but other people are filing these big disastrous claims, and it's not their fault. It could be weather related. related could be, typically weather related. But if weather related issues are happening across the country and they're huge events, they could affect our rates, and they are affecting our rates. And so there's been just record amounts of these weather related disasters and catastrophes that are causing the insurance carriers to become either insolvent or lose their financial ratings.
Yeah, and the fewer insurance companies there are, the fewer policies we have to choose from.
That's right.
In the newsroom, I know I had some people come to me when the California wildfire started and said, does this mean our insurance rates are going to go up? And I was like, well, normally, like, these large companies are spreading out their
Yes, they're spreading out the risk, and the LA fires that are happening, they are probably going to be the largest catastrophic event in the history of insurance. And the prior event that was the largest was the winter storm Uri, and that was over $100 billion worth of damage. We're hearing numbers that the wildfires in LA could top $250 billion.
Wow.
Now, if that's the only event that happens in 2025, we may be okay. But we have 11 more months to go in hopes of us not having any more catastrophic events. But the chances of us having more are pretty high these days. Yeah,
with it only being January. Yeah. I mean, is there a time, like, our insurance companies, when they raise rates? I mean, it's so variable, it seems like, from customer to customer and policy to policy. So, for example, let's just say, XYZ Insurance, so as not to name one. Do they change their rates at a certain date? Like, do they do it once a year, or are they constantly throughout the year changing their rates?
Great question. So typically insurance carriers revise their rates once a year. But during the last 3 years, we've seen multiple rate changes with all the different carriers throughout the year. So if you renewed like January 1st to December 31st, there could be a couple, 2 to 3 rate increases between the time that you renewed in January to December, and you may be the victim of a couple or several different rate increases depending on what's going on in the world.
So that whenever your policy is expired and you go to renew, you're then going to realize all of those different rate increases.
Yes.
Not in the middle of your policy.
Not in the middle of the policy, but the realization comes at the renewal.
Yeah, and do you know, Leash, are these insurance companies, are they required, for example, to go before each Texas Department of Insurance in each state and get, they always grant it, but basically get approval for these rate increases?
Absolutely. They have to file their rates with the state of Texas, and the state of Texas they do have to approve it. And the state of Texas is pretty fair. They don't want them to increase it that much. But the averages that we're seeing for full accounts are about 30% increases year over year for the last 3 years. It's been crazy.
Wow. And I'm just curious, it doesn't help ease our pain when we hear that, it's so much lower than, say, if we lived in California. But do we have any idea? I mean, is it about the same increases across the country, or something?
It's about the same, but I'd say it's about the same. The coastal areas and the wildfire-prone areas are really getting hammered right now because of the wind risk and the wildfire risk. But if you live in the middle of a rural area that doesn't burn, and insurance rates can be a bit lower if there's not as many claims events, but they are sharing that premium across the nation, so they're getting a little bit of an increase there. But the coastal areas and the traditional wildfire or catastrophic areas are getting the brunt of the issues these days. Yeah,
I mean, it seems to be getting unsustainable, but what can you do? We're required to have insurance, home and car. We're going to take a quick break, and then I want to get to some of the questions and just some of the practical tips and advice that you may be able to use on ways to try to get your insurance policy premiums lower. They're few and far between, but you've got a few things we can talk about.
Yep.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Our guest today is Leash Yu, Managing Director of Higginbotham Insurance. We're talking all about homeowners, auto policies, and the increasing prices that everybody's seeing whenever they go to renew.
Yep, crazy times.
It is. So we asked our viewers to send us some questions. Some we didn't even have to solicit because everybody's talking about this and the increases. Okay, so we just got through with Hurricane Beryl and the derecho before that. So we knew a lot of people were filing claims. I was one of them. And you think, I filed this claim, I'm going to give them all the information they asked for, they sent inspectors. How long does an insurance company have? Is there like a deadline before they have to say, we deny it, or here's how much we're offering? I mean, how long?
So that's a great question. There's not really a deadline for them to decline you or to approve you. And the more information that comes out and the more they have to research, the longer that it takes for them to make a decision.
Okay.
Now, so there's not really a deadline. And if you're continuing to ask, I found some more issues with my house, they basically take that and put you on the bottom of the pile and continue to work with you.
Okay.
And so the more information you can give them up front, the faster that process will go. Now, when you call and file a claim, they do have 2 days to, they're required to respond to you within 2 days. And most of them are pretty good at responding to you. Where they kind of run into issues is this claim covered or not?
Right.
You know? And then that can definitely take a lot longer, especially if there's more information that you're bringing them to hopefully, push the claim along or give more money out of the claim.
Right.
And so if there's more information, it just prolongs.
Got it. So just acknowledging receipt of your claim and, hey, we know you're in our system. We're going to send somebody out 2 days.
2 days.
That's good to know. Okay. So our first question from a viewer is from Lisa. She says that her homeowner's insurance is going up 73% over last year. It's going to cost them nearly $10,000. Her car insurance has also increased. She's just wanting to know why, because she said also in their family's policy, they went from 3 vehicles to 2. And they're still getting an increase.
Yeah, so 73% definitely sounds excessive. It sounds like they lost some discounts there. It sounds like they increased their insured rate, but usually we're not seeing that high of increases. We do see that some anomalies that push it up to 50 to 70%. So it'd be interesting to see exactly what happened, but it's not normal for it to be that high. Now, insurance companies look at different things. They look at the roof age. They look at how old the house is. They look at if there's any damage. They look at you and your credit rating and your claims history. So if she filed a claim, the claims discount might have fallen off. If her credit history or her credit has lowered since the last renewal, that could really increase things too. So it's really hard to say exactly what's going on there. But typically speaking, we're looking at 30% increases. 73 does look a little excessive.
That's huge. That's a huge increase. And so obviously, don't just go with whatever your insurance company offers you as a renewal. If you're hearing that, then maybe you do want to go to somebody like a broker. Yeah,
and in this situation, they really need to have a conversation with their broker to see exactly what's going on. Now, going from 3 cars to 2 cars, depending on the situation. So I personally had 5 cars in our household at one time, and I removed one of the cars. When I removed the car, my insurance actually increased because the insurance carriers, they look at how many drivers there are in your household and how many cars there are in your household. The more cars to drivers, the more of a discount you get on those extra cars. And so when you remove them, sometimes you don't lower your rate, you actually increase the rate. And so it just depends on what's going on there. But they also could have had accidents, they have added a youthful driver, or their vehicles could have been more expensive to insure. There's all kinds of things that could be happening there. But the bottom line is, to your point, yes, get your broker involved and to figure out, hey, what's going on with this? It shouldn't be this high.
Exactly. And when we talk about brokers, I know not everybody uses a broker to shop around for insurance, but there are other benefits to that. So when I was explaining my problem to you, where I'm like, okay, so I filed this claim, and then they did send inspectors out. They said, oh, we're working on it. And then it's like they ghosted me for like 2 months. I'm like, hello. And you said, well, call your broker.
Yeah, call your broker and have them put some pressure on the carrier. The carriers don't like the brokers and the agents involved in the claims process, but a good broker will have a good relationship with all of the claims people and say, hey, what's going on? Can you just give her a call and give her an update? They can push the process down along. And then the broker's not going to be able to say, hey, Amy, this situation is not covered. Please cover it for Amy. They're not going to be able
to advocate for you.
Yeah, but they can definitely advocate in different ways, like getting answers faster. And just getting clearer communication. And
then I know we've covered these in past segments, but just so that people know, when you file that claim, and let's use me as an example, and if they deny it or they don't offer enough to even make it worth it because my deductible's higher than that, what am I looking at like when my policy expires?
Well, if they deny it or if it doesn't hit your deductible and you filed a claim and it's zero claim paid, especially on a catastrophic issue, it should not hurt your renewability or your rates with your current broker.
Okay.
It could affect you if you go shopping and you have a history of filing claims, whether they pay or not. The new carrier could go, hey, there's a lot of claims under the belt. We're either going to not approve or we're just going to charge them a little bit more.
Or they could say, look, she's trying to get somebody to pay for something, and we don't want that to be us. That was fantastic. Okay, so there were a couple other things that I want to talk to you. I think we're going to take a break, but when we come back, it was an idea that I heard from somebody about a way to adjust or choose things on your policy to get your premium lower, and you actually did some math on it.
Yep.
So we're going to discuss that when we come back. We'll take another break. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Our guest, Leash Yu, is talking to us about insurance and answering a lot of the questions that you have sent in to us. I know you hear as a broker, managing director of Higginbotham Insurance, you probably hear all the time from people, just tell me, what's the best affordable home and car insurance? Can you just give me a recommendation? Just tell me who to check.
Yeah, and that's a very hard question because every carrier, there's not a carrier that's best for the entire world. If that was the case, then there will only be one carrier to serve everybody. So every carrier looks for different things in your profile to rate your insurance. And so my advice to somebody that says, hey, what's the best carrier? The response and the answer is it just depends on your situation. You and I can shop for the same exact insurance with a carrier. Your rate could be a lot better than mine. Then we go to a different carrier. My rate could be a lot better than yours. And so you really should shop this and find a good broker that has some decent markets that are able to shop it. Now, there are some carriers that are better at youthful drivers than other carriers. There are some carriers that are better with claims issues. But if you're pretty clean, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You could get really low rates with a carrier that is notorious for being high rates, but really, really good service.
Right, and so maybe then you should also look at reviews on how well that insurance company is at paying claims.
Absolutely. Yes.
So even though they may have really low rates, when you actually need them, are they going to pay out?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know that's a popular question we get all the time. Okay, so here's another one. And in Houston, it seems like this comes up a lot. Maybe it's everywhere. But Donna said her vehicle was parked at a business and somebody backed into her. And the driver stopped. The driver gave her the insurance information. They took the vehicle in to see how much it was going to cost. It was going to be like $1,200. Turns out that the driver who was at fault, that insurance that she gave them wasn't valid anymore. It had expired.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It's happening a lot more now than it ever did. When I first got in the business in 2002, I would say 1 out of 4 calls that would call me were uninsured. Right now, it seems like it's 1 out of 2. Every other call I get, hey, the person doesn't have insurance. Now, it's just anecdotal. I think there's still probably in Harris County, 20 to 25% of our population is uninsured. Yeah. And so we just kind of have to prepare for that. And so you can file the claim and pay that, use your insurance carrier to file an uninsured motorist claim, or just pay out of pocket if it's not too expensive and you can afford it. I
mean, and this is so frustrating. I'm actually surprised that we think it's only 25%, because as these rates keep going up, the person who hit her clearly at one time did have that insurance. She gave her the policy, but then probably when they said, oh, here's your renewal, it's like, oh, well, I can't afford that.
Yeah, totally understandable why people can't afford their insurance and how they're canceling it. It's because they can't afford it. But yeah, in my advice on a situation, a fender bender or any type of claim situation, is if you can afford to pay the claim out of pocket, pay the claim out of pocket. Don't even let the insurance carriers know. Yeah. The less they know, the better off we are as consumers.
Again, we're back to self-insuring.
Self-insuring, yes.
And so then I asked, because, a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to do that. We say, oh, well, then your insurance company is going to pay for the damage that the other driver's insurance company should have paid for it had she had it. But then you're like, no, because in the end, my rates are going to go up. And I said, will they? Do they?
Yeah. Typically on an uninsured motorist claim or a not at fault accident, your rates don't go up with your current carrier. You can run into issues when you shop your insurance and you have a list of claims that you filed. Because it doesn't look real good from a new carrier perspective, and that could definitely affect your rates and your renewability or your underwriting approval on a new carrier.
Right.
So again, just just be prudent when filing claims. Again, if you can afford to pay them out of pocket, I would pay it out of pocket.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, and in these times where your policy's going up like 30%, even when you had no claims, that would be difficult to prove anyway.
Yes.
That, oh, they raised it because I filed this claim that wasn't my fault.
Yeah, there are some carriers that will ding you for filing a claim, whether it's at fault or not at fault. And you lose a claims-free discount. There's things that you lose, so it's just better if you can pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
If you can't afford it, that's why we have the insurance.
All right, so let's talk about ways to lower, we were talking specifically your homeowner's insurance, because I ran this past you and I said, okay, somebody suggested to me, because my roof was already at 15 years old, insurance companies already told me when I was calling to get estimates, like how much, you would cover me for. We're already saying like, well, your roof's already 15 years old. We're only going to give you actual cash value cost, like coverage, because you've gone through most of the life of your roof and we think you need a new one. Well, so now I have a new one. So somebody said, so now when you get a new policy, you should say, I want actual cash value coverage, because for them to replace it, it's going to cost about the same amount.
Yeah.
What's the theory on that? That my premium should be lower and I'll get about the same amount if there is a claim.
So in that situation, you get a pretty big discount for having a new roof to begin with, right? The carriers do give you that discount. And I did run the numbers on that. So say you had a brand new roof and added actual cash value on as far as a claims payout if something happened to your roof. On a brand new roof, with that endorsement, you save like $30.
$30.
Yeah, it's not much. The older the roof gets, the more you save, because the more you're at risk for paying the difference between actual cash value and fully replacing the roof. But I do like that strategy. It's kind of the same as increasing your deductibles. Right. The insurance company's math is really good. So they're going to get their money one way or the other. But raising your deductibles and adding options such as this, an actual cash value for your roof versus replacing your roof, it really, you're in that camp where I hope I don't have a claim.
Right.
If you have lower deductibles and don't have this actual cash value, and you get something, you have your full roof replaced, you're kind of rooting for a claim situation to happen, and that's not real healthy.
Right.
So if we self-insure more, let's gamble that we're not going to have a claim, pay less out of pocket, and if we do have a claim, we're just going to have to pay more out of pocket to resolve whatever issue we have.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I mean, in the end, it's that emergency rainy day fund, self-insuring, paying for everything unless your house is a total loss, is what it sounds like.
Unless it's a total loss, yeah. We're in this situation where we're really insuring for total losses in the disaster situation.
Right, and I'm hoping that we have you back here next year at this time, and you're saying, wow, so rates are finally back down again. Yeah,
there's all kinds of insurance companies open. We're rooting for that. We're rooting for a softer market, more carriers to come into the market, lower rates, and everybody's just happy and affording insurance and their homeowners in their mortgages as well. In
your history in the business, can you think of the last time where we had that sort of slide back, like we're up, where it kind of like went back down again?
Like there's really been only one time where in my career, and it was like 2007 probably, when rates were kind of normalized.
Yeah.
But since then, it's just continuing to creep up, and I don't think we're ever going to get back to a situation where rates are as low as they were in the mid 2000s or early 2010s. I think insurance is going to continue to climb. We just hope it doesn't continue to climb at 30% clips. We're hoping 1%, 2%, less than 5%, but here's to hoping. Right, exactly. I think that is all the time we have, unless just any parting wisdom, advice you would give to people at a friend dinner party, as someone with lots of experience. Yeah, I would just make sure you and your broker are securing really good coverage, and just increase your deductibles to try to help with the cost. But make sure that your homeowner's insurance is an all-risk coverage policy on the dwelling that covers for infinite amount of things instead of just like 8 to 18 things, but also make sure you have good water damage coverage for the inside of the house and rising water that comes in, like for flood insurance as well. Right, and good luck. Yeah. Right. I know that sounds terrible. Leash, thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah, thank you for joining us for this episode of Ask Amy, and we hope we've helped in some small way as you go to renew your homeowners and auto policies. Have a great day.